Hello and welcome to Town Meeting Television and another in our live candidate forums for Town Meeting 2020. I'm Matt Kelly. I'm pleased to be joined on the debate table tonight by Hal Colston. He is an incumbent for the Winooski City Council seeking to return to the council unchallenged. Unfortunately, Michael Myers was not able to join us this evening. Hal, welcome to the program. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Matt.
A reminder, this is a pre-recorded segment, so no live calls at this time, unfortunately. But Hal, I want to begin with you and talk about this drive to serve. I am so pleased to actually be sitting next to you because I know that this is a passion for you that has been with you for a long time. Can you speak about this passion and why it compels you to serve and run again and how it best serves your community?
Well, it's interesting. I have been asked along the way, about serving in city council, but my response was, I'm too busy. I'm doing other things. I'm better off on the sidelines to get things done. And I was approached about this a couple of years ago, and I realized what I was moving into was a transition in my life where I was doing less work and out in the community, and the excuse of not having time didn't work anymore. Yeah. So I ended up running as a write-in candidate and was successful and have served 2 years on the city council. But I'm really excited this time around because I'm on the ballot. So that's a good thing.
And so what do you see as the main challenges that the city is facing?
Well, we have a demographic crisis in our state, and because I serve in the state legislature representing Winooski. Yeah. So it's going to really sugar down to all of our communities, and I really feel we have to make sure that we're an inviting and open and welcoming community, as I think we are.
Yeah, I think so.
And Winooski is the most diverse city in northern New England. We're almost 20% people of color, many of them foreign born. So we need to make sure that we are offering opportunities for people to be involved in our community, to serve, and to have voice. So I think that's going to be critical for our community going forward, because diversity is a strength, and it's now a business imperative. So we need to make the best decisions that make sure we're attracting and retaining people who are different.
And so what are the three top priorities that you see for the next 2 years that you're really going to get behind and really try to bring to the city?
Equity is definitely a big concern of mine, and I'm so excited that our city council this past session took it upon ourselves to stand up a community forum where we had about 40 people from the community on a Saturday and heard their thoughts about what it takes for us to be a more equitable city. And we're taking some of those ideas and trying to put them in action. So equity is important. We need to have accessibility into our civic life for all. The other issue—
For more people to serve.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And the other issue that's really important for me is that we need to figure out how to allow non-citizens to vote. Because we have such a high percentage of new Americans in our community, we have a large part of our community we don't have a voice. Yeah. And we're losing out on that. So we stood up a charter change commission, which is in process now. And the goal is to put on the ballot by 2020 this fall, the question about allowing non-citizens to vote.
Montpelier's done the same.
Montpelier's done the same.
Burlington was going to do it. They did withdraw the petition.
Exactly, exactly. And then the other real important issue for us is the F-35 noise mitigation program. They're here. Right now, we need to deal with how we're going to best accommodate and acclimate to this new mission.
Can you share with us a little bit how your community is responding to it now that they are here? Is what the protesters said true? Is there such a noise complaint that it is a quality of life, that it is a health issue, as well as a housing position as well that we're dealing with?
Yeah, I really think so. And I think once once the FAA program, the Federal Aviation Administration grant program, is ready to roll out, I think is also going to allow for some on-the-ground testing, because up until now it's been based on modeling.
Right,
so,
right, right.
So in terms of the computer models, 40% of the homes impacted by the noise are in Winooski.
Yeah.
So we will bear a real significant part of this.
Are you hearing, though, from your residents that this is being an issue for them in terms of, as they experience it now, that the noise is overwhelming for them?
Some of the residents, yes, but I think also the Air National Guard is being very sensitive to this.
Okay.
So they're scheduling their sorties so that they can have the least impact. So I think that's important to acknowledge as well.
Great, great. Okay. So as we move in here, school budget obviously is a major driver of affordability in your community, but it's also about access too. Can you speak about the school budget and how it really is impacting your community and whether you in fact support it or not?
Yeah. Well, I had the pleasure of serving on the Partnership for Change as its director for 5 years.
Yeah.
And that was a program that was funded by the Nellie Mae Education Foundation, which provided resources to the Winooski School District and the Burlington School District, and allowed, in particular, the high schools to shift to a student-centered, proficiency-based learning system. So we had over $5 million of resources to help both of those school districts embrace this new approach to education. Because education now is such that one size doesn't fit all. So you have to learn as a teacher, as an instructor, to teach to the individual student.
Meet them where they're at.
And not to the curriculum or the coursework in particular. You have to know each and every individual student and how do you relate and connect with them. So it's more of an individualized approach that we're now taking on in order to have an effective educational program. So for me, it's an investment in our future in terms of how we look at our budget for supporting our schools and all the resources that it needs. Because if you think education's expensive, try ignorance.
Right. Yeah, I think we're seeing that today. Sorry. Are you satisfied with the mix of economic development in Winooski? And it's continuing to grow.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts for the 21st century for the downtown core and beyond?
I am for the most part. I think we need to be really cognizant of those who are leaving out in this economic development boom that we're going through. I would love to see in the future, how do we create incubator spaces for entrepreneurs who typically come from other countries with skills and dreams, and how do we allow for them to stand up their ideas and their new business, which will just, I think, enrich the lifeblood of our city.
Yeah. I've seen the model in Madison, Wisconsin, and how it works, and it's just unbelievable. So great. When we talk about economic development, obviously roads are key to it, and there's a lot planned for Winooski or even thought about, particularly with the bridge. Can you give your thoughts there on that infrastructure development and how that is actually key to equity?
Yeah. Well, last year, the City Council approved a $23 million expansion renovation of our Main Street corridor, which is a major undertaking. And I think what we're going to gain from that is new infrastructure, water and sewer. We have, some of the lines are over 100 years old, and they continually burst, and we have to,
We just had that in Burlington.
Triage
where we had to boil water because of a burst pipe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to make that corridor more attractive for future development. So I think that's going to be a real enhancement to our city as we go forward in the 21st century.
Great. And I would imagine that this is a little bit different because there's no private investment, so there's no danger of a big hole that would then prevent this type of a development from going forward and making the smooth transition. I think it's important to note too that Winooski is really this transportation hub.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of traffic that goes through Winooski is much different than goes through the downtown core of Burlington or any other community within our area.
That's right.
Isn't that right?
That's right. And another asset that we'll have ready to roll out in June is our new pool, the Myers Pool, which was just under a $4 million project.
Yeah.
And we've been without a pool for a number of years.
And that's really key to, I mean, a community's well-being and exposure to recreation.
And a community that has a river that borders it, that has taken several lives. So water safety is high on our list. And we think it'll be a real gem for us to have this as an asset.
The diverging, I just want to digress here a little bit.
Sure.
You know, the CCRPC, and they're talking about that diverging diamond up there. What are your thoughts on that? And there's always a price to pay when a known transportation corridor is changed. I can personally speak to injury and loss of property from a change. So what do you think about this proposal for the diverging diamonds up at that interchange?
Well, the one real important benefit that I will see out of this project is that it's going to allow safe pedestrian walkways that go all the way into Colchester to the supermarket at Shaw's.
Yeah.
Currently, people are taking their lives in their hand as they walk along underneath the overpass at night, and there's no accommodation for pedestrian walkways there now.
Right, you're right.
So that'll be a benefit, and I think that'll be an important benefit.
Okay.
But just like the roundabout, it's going to take people some time to learn how to use it, and if it's done properly, it should really allow traffic to flow in a much better, more efficient way.
Wonderful. A reminder, we're speaking here with Hal Colston. He is city councilor running for re-election for the city of Winooski. Unfortunately, Michael Myers was unable to join us this evening because of illness, but we thank Hal very much for joining us here and having a wonderful conversation. What are some of the initiatives that you think Winooski has taken to successfully engage young people, and what more do you think could be done? Apathy is just, you know, the killer, I think. What do you think the city can do more to really bring them in?
Well, I think that we have a really successful reparative board model. And I know that because when I'm not in the legislature, I actually serve on it. And you know, restorative justice is really taking like wildfire across Vermont and other parts of the country. Sure. Because it's a process where if someone does harm, like a young person, then instead of punishing them, they have an opportunity to take responsibility for their behavior. And they learn about the impact of their behavior to the community, the greater community. So it's a process to make whole what was broken. And we have seen a lot of young people come through the reparative board. And Margaret Bass, who does an excellent job of running the program, had the initiative to say, hey, we need to be in the school. So now they're making these circles take place within the school, and it usually takes place in the setting where the harm was committed. And I think that that's a powerful way to have young people learn to take responsibility for their actions.
And to come into community service.
That's right. And it also, I think, has changed some lives of young people who were on the wrong path, and now they're back on the right path.
Wow, I didn't see the connection until you just drew that, so thank you. That's wonderful, I love it. I want to, you talked about non-voting citizens, new Americans. Can you speak about why it's important to give them the right to vote and what you see their role in helping build a healthy community is?
Well, the bottom line is they need to be a legal resident. So that's clear, and that's the case in any community that has taken on this. So often, new Americans who want to make a new life in our country may take 5 to 10 years to become a citizen.
Yeah, even longer sometimes.
And meanwhile, they're paying taxes, many of them own their own homes, their kids are in our schools, they're contributing to our community, but they can't vote locally. So this would only allow for local voting, period. And being in the legislature and on the Government Operations Committee, which approves all charter changes, because this would be a charter change for Winooski, it's really interesting that folks who have been naysayers to this process feel it's an unconstitutional effort.
Right.
Yet it has nothing to do with the Constitution, because the legislature has the purview to create policy. And this is a policy that would be created to allow a local community to have non-citizens vote. So it's a policy issue and it's not a constitutional issue.
Wow.
And I think many community members don't quite understand that. And well, like I said, if we have a significant part of our community and we don't have their voice, we are at a loss.
Right, right. Wonderful. How important are regional services? You know, we've heard over the course of some of these candidate forums how much local communities are actually sharing services. And in fact, that is one of the reasons behind the Burlington increase in the safety tax, because they need to fund an additional crew for the ambulance services. So how important are regional services to Winooski, and what needs to happen to strengthen those ties so that costs can come down, yet services can be enhanced and safety can be increased?
Once again, I point back to this demographic crisis that our governor has called us into really dealing with and looking at and coming up with ideas to mitigate it. Going regional makes total sense, especially for a lot of these services, like with our emergency services and having a call center that's shared by several communities instead of just one community.
Right.
It makes it so much easier for staffing and managing. But I think as we go forward.
Well, and I just want to say that because that actually does level, the standard in terms of qualifications even for the person who's staffing whatever you're talking about.
Sure.
So that one community has the same level of qualifications for the person staffing the same position.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think as we become a grayer state in terms of being the second oldest state in the country, behind Maine, this is going to be more and more critical as we have less people in the workforce paying less taxes, therefore cutting services. So we have to figure out ways to combine on a regional level the ways that we do our business.
I want to kind of shift here a little bit. Are there things that you're working on in the state legislature specifically that are benefiting Winooski in an overall sense, but if you can show how Winooski directly benefits from some of the work that you're doing in the state legislature on their behalf?
Well, I was really privileged in my first session to have my first bill introduced, turned into law. It was H 427, which is now Act 10, and it's a process for foreign credential verification through the Office of Professional Regulation. So OPR oversees about 50 different licensures, okay? And so often we have new Americans come to our country who have worked 20, 30 years in their profession as a doctor, as a dentist, as a nurse, as a professional, yet we don't have a way to vet their credentials. So all too often, they're driving cabs at the airport. And here are people who are just amazingly skilled.
And could be providing incredible services to our community.
And then on the other hand, we have these professional positions going lacking for people to fill them. And here they are out there driving cabs. So this law, Act 10, is going to be rolled into a Senate bill, which is just going through the process. And what that will do, that will enhance our ability to attract people through the military from other states, and as well qualified new Americans to get into their licensed profession in a much simpler and logical way, instead of having them go back and take school all over again, which is like a non-starter.
Yeah, right. Well, I have to admit this has been a tremendous dialogue, and I'm really glad in a sense that Michael Myers didn't show up, and we wish him continued good health as he recovers and continues his candidacy to return to the City Council unopposed as well. The dialogue has been wonderful to me because I've learned a lot even just talking to you in this short amount of time, Hal. So in the time that we have left remaining, please take this time to sum up your candidacy and your service to the city of Winooski.
Well, Winooski, I think, is one of the best cities to live in. We are a gem. We're a place where we're human scale. You get to know. We have a strong sense of community. And I think our greatest asset are our people. So as I believe a budget is a moral document, I'm very proud to serve our community and have great leadership in our city manager and her team to make sure that we're the best possible place to live. So I would really welcome your support, and let's get to work.
Very good. Hal Colston, a pleasure having you here at the debate table. A reminder that early voting is already underway in our great state. You can contact your local town clerk and request a ballot by mail. Just a reminder when it arrives to complete it and return it by mail. And then join us for complete town meeting coverage beginning at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, March 3rd, right here on Town Meeting Television. For all of us at CCTV, I'm Matt Kelly. Thank you for watching.